Hey everybody, welcome back. I am your host, Joe JDF Foster. And today's episode is going to be slightly different from my usual ones in the fact that this one I am going to do songs, but these songs have a certain theme, which are ones that deal with abuse. Originally, this topic was going to be songs that were beautiful but had a darker meaning and dealt with abuse in the domestic or relationship. And that's where I stuck to, is that it's specifically domestic, as in husband and wife, or relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, or something like that. I am not getting into the child abuse or anything like that. These are just the songs and things I could find about them. And, well, the song facts I could find about them. So, if you're not happy, I would understand why you don't watch. But please give me a chance with this, and I'm trying. Because I actually found this to be interesting that there were so many over the years, and over time, and that they went unnoticed or unheard of. And some of them people think are these great things when they're actually dealing with such a dark topic in itself. And before you even think about it, I am against abuse. Yes, I believe. Yes, I believe in arguing with somebody. Yes, I believe you can have different points of view and it'd be okay. But the actual abuse of a person is never right. There is no excuse for it. And anybody who believes that is lying to you if they think that it is. Now on to the point. The first song that I found when I went looking actually came out in 1962 by the Crystals. And it's called He Hit Me. It Felt Like a Kiss. It Felt Like a Kiss is in parentheses. This was written by Carole King, and I couldn't find. It had another person listed, but I couldn't keep the name straight. Whenever I went to write it, I'd keep losing it, and I ended up forgetting. But I remembered it was Carole King. But it was written about a babysitter that Carole King and the person had at the time, named Little Ava, who would become a future pop singer. Well, the thing is, it was written about about Little Ava's relationship with Phil Spector. And when Carole King and the person would ask why she stayed in this relationship, even though Phil beat the crap out of her, she would actually tell him that it was because it proved that he loved her. Well, in the song, they actually threw in as a lyric, if he didn't care for me, I would never have made him mad. But he hit me, I was glad. And it's because it was them seeing it as her logic and accepting of this. And it's sad to me that so much abuse takes place in the world. The U.S. alone has you can find stats online. You can find stats. Just go to the nearest station, police station or school, and they can give you stats on this a lot of times. On just domestics alone. And some have said that domestics went down. Other places say domestics have went up when it comes to this. Either way, I find it sad that it occurs at all. The next song I found was actually older than the Crystals version, and it actually came out in 1923. Okay, during the 60s, I mean, anytime from. Okay, this song came out in 1923, and it was called Outside of That by Bessie Smith. From the time this song was produced, basically through the early to mid 90s, maybe even the late 90s, the idea of domestic abuse or relationship abuse was pretty much not spoken about. It was considered to be a personal issue that you kept inside. If the family wanted to deal with it, then good luck to the person who was causing the abuse, because more than likely they were going to disappear. But if they didn't do anything about it and the person wouldn't come forward, then it was unlikely anything was done about it, sadly, because of that. But in 1923, we're talking unheard of altogether. In this song, it actually treats the abuse by the man as a minor issue in the relationship. Sorry. He's a lyric. A line in the song actually quotes him as being the meanest man in the land, heartless and cruel. But also that the woman was so swept up in the relationship that she was willing to forgive him anytime he was mean to her. The part that gets me is that jokingly in the song, jokingly, she tells him at one point that she's going to leave him. He blackens both her eyes to the point that she's basically blind and takes everything he's bought her and pawns it. And at the end of the song, she calls him a dirty thief and he knocks out her teeth. These are the actual lyrics. These are the actual lines in the song. And like the sites I found this song on, the song lyrics for this on, and where it talks about it, I have to agree with them. I think outside of that, actually is almost promoting the staying with men who are abusive rather than getting away from them. The Crystals was less inviting than this one is. But again, it's the sign of the times. 1923 versus 1960s. Okay, now for one that I found interesting, because this one came out in 1946. Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Jordan. Stone Cold Dead in the Market, parentheses, he had it coming. Now, one of the facts I found on this says that it became popular during a time when it wasn't commonplace to discuss domestic relationship violence in public places. But another place I found said that the song didn't do well. And, sorry. Also, with the Crystals, when the song failed, but the song didn't do that well, and when it was actually ended, the Crystals wondered why they were told to write the song, and everybody was wondering why that song was actually done in the first place. And Phil Spector was the one who had them put it on the album. But back to Stone Cold Dead, like I said, when this one came out, I'm sorry, it was more than one place. There were 3 places stated it became popular during a time when it wasn't commonplace to discuss domestic or relationship violence in public places. But at the same time, I found two places that stated that the song didn't do well because of it, because of the topic it discussed. Now, on to the other facts I found. Now, on to the other things I found with this. In the song, the the person that the song is about killed their abusive and drunken husband. And depending on which version of the song you believe, they either used a frying pan, a crock pot, or a rolling pin. Which I can believe. And all three, I would love to have seen the death scene for in this person's case. Because you're being that type of abusive, and the person killed you in public. Yeah, I want to see how they did it with all three. I want to see how they did it with each of them, because you deserved it either way. You're lucky that they didn't help. You're lucky she didn't get help with it and covering up the body. Also, in the song, both have been in the relationship. I mean, both singers are talking about, have been in a relationship, and they're either way, the person that's in the song has been in the relationship for so long, and they're actually chipper about the murder committed. In Ella's versions, it says, "He ain't gonna beat me no more. And so I tell you, I don't care if I was to die in the electric chair, Mon." Taking on sort of a calypso in her version. Jordan's version had more of a jazz sound to it, apparently. And it says, "Hey child, I'm coming back and bash you on your head one more time." Sorry, I actually forgot to put the year on this next song, on a number of these songs. But Nickelback is my next one with their song "Never Again" off their album Silver Side Up. I may have misquoted that song in that album. But anyways, it's about the song "Never Again" is about a husband who keeps getting drunk, comes home, and beats his wife. Well, while he's beating his wife, their son keeps witnessing it and keeps thinking about how you're supposed to how you're supposed to treat women with respect, how you're supposed to be protective, how you're supposed to be this good person, and everything his father's doing is completely wrong. Sorry. And when he does this, he decides, you know what? He's getting pushed to the point where he's actually considering going across that line. Well, in the last part of the song, and I don't mean the actual end of the song, I mean the last verse of the last verse set of the song, he comes home again. He's drunk, he's ready to fight. Yeah, this time, Mom's decided she's had enough. She grabs the gun and she kills him. She actually beats her son to the punch this time. And so they go with it. This one, I actually understand. Because in this one, I would go with battered wife syndrome. Not saying she's innocent by any means, but she at least has a good defense because the guy kept getting drunk and beating her for no reason. And the son knew that, And my guess is one of the reasons that the son didn't get involved is because he knew if he did, his mom would probably get worse because she would step in to try and save her son, because it's a mother's natural reaction to try and protect their kid. Same as for most, it's a child's reaction to want to protect their parents. But in this one's case, yeah. Father was lucky he wasn't getting a double beat down somehow. The next song I'm going to do is one that matters to me a lot, and it's because I grew up in the South and I love this song because when I was a kid I thought it was so beautiful. And as I got older, I realized what it was about and realized how sad it was, and then found out something that was really messed up about it and unfair. And that is 1990s, and I actually remembered that, oddly enough. The song is from 1990. It's Garth Brooks, "The Thunder Rolls." The original video for this is like 8 minutes long because there's a third verse that was originally part of the song, but it got banned because of what it uses. And originally, Garth Brooks is not the singer of this song, as most people believe. It was actually sung by Tanya Tucker, and it had a fourth verse. But Garth didn't do the fourth verse because of his manager telling him not to do it. So he only did 3 of them. And then the third verse caused so much controversy that they cut it down to 2, which is unfair. But anyways, if you can find it anywhere, I haven't been able to find it on the internet anywhere. And I can remember it from when I was a kid. When the video first opens, a man is talking to a woman. He decides he's going to go home to his wife. Tells her he's not going to stay, and she knows what it is. Well, the moment he leaves, she calls his wife and lets her know that her husband has been there and is on his way home. And his wife asks who it is. And the phone gets hung, and the other woman hangs up the phone. Well, the song pretty much plays out otherwise correctly, but there are some differences. Like I said, the song has the husband cheating on the wife, and she finds out. The husband beats the wife in the song. What it fails to show in the song lyrics that they show in the video is that the daughter hears the parents arguing, and she comes out of her room, which happens to be on the upstairs. As she's coming down the stairs, she sees her father starting to abuse her mother. And she's actually standing there witnessing it, while the parents don't see this. But during the part of it where it gets to the third verse, it talks about how the woman's had enough of the man abusing her, and this will be the last time she'll wonder where he's been because of all the cheating he's been doing. Well, she ends up reaching for the gun, looks in the mirror. She ends up killing him with it in this one, in this part of the verse, according to the way the song's portrayed. Well, in the video when they do this, the man has been beating the woman, has been beating his wife. Well, at one point he turns to see his daughter and sees that she actually is witnessing this. The daughter, I give her between 4 to maybe 9 at most. Actually, I wouldn't even give her 9. I give her 4 to 6, age-wise. Well, he starts to walk towards her. The mother gets scared, grabs the gun, still does the whole look in the mirror thing. This time when the father, she cocks the gun, the father turns. The moment he turns around, you hear the sound of the gun and there's a tree basically that crashes through the window at that same point. And also, sorry, got tongue tied again. And the video goes from that to playing the chorus again. And then when it finishes the chorus this time, it shows Garth standing outside the house with an ambulance. I believe there's an ambulance there. I know the police cars are there, which is implying that the mother's, because the number of cars implies that the mother's been arrested and that they are actually using it as a crime scene. And now for the fun part. When Garth did this in 1990, the entire third part, or third verse, was banned because it was considered to promote premeditation type behavior, according to some of the critics, instead of the victim being shown. I hate to tell him, you got a man slapping a woman around or shaking her in some way where she's fighting just to survive against him. That's not showing that's not premeditation. That's her that makes it self-defense, in my view. That doesn't push it to premeditation when she grabs the gun. But Garth got around this little rule. When it comes to the third verse, Garth started performing. When he was told he couldn't perform it on TV or the radio or on his albums, Garth found a way around it. He performed it live at his concerts. Any concert he does where he performs the song, he was known for putting the third verse in for that reason, because they told him he couldn't. And also, as far as I know, and multiple pages I looked at, I spent hours today looking at this information. This particular song, when Garth did it, not when Tanya did it, not when other people have done it, but when Garth did it in 1990, was considered to have started one of the biggest controversies in music because of that. I mean, because of what happened. Okay, now on to my next video. Now on to my next song. From 1999, Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks. Something I didn't know. Taylor Swift apparently is a big fan of this song, which I find interesting in that case, with some of the songs that she's done. I figured this one would have been more towards your people who are violent in a lot of their songs. Then again, Taylor Swift has grown over the years since her debut album. Anyways, with Goodbye Earl, the song starts out talking about how you got these two who are friends, and one moves away while the other finds a guy that she likes. Well, then it turns out this guy didn't take very long to show his true colors, and he actually became an abusive person towards her. I don't know if it's just physically or if it was physically and mentally with the way the song said it. But anyways, after the one who married the guy, after the one who married the guy is put into the hospital, the other one comes back to help her friend out. They immediately decide to kill Earl. To kill the guy, who's named Earl. Meaning, this goes, in my view, from self-defense to premeditation, which means it's a crime. Now, if they hadn't been, oh, hey, let's do this and let's do that. Now, if they thought of it in the moment, in the heat of the moment, okay. But the fact that they spent days planning this all out and what they were going to do afterwards, no, that's premeditation, among other things, I'm fairly certain, by law. And, like I said, in Garth, the woman grabbed the gun in the heat of the moment and fired it. So, there was no actual plan when she grabbed the gun. And he got crucified over this. But Goodbye Earl, the song was considered okay. Even the Dixie Chicks and the record label called it murder when they heard this, when they were asked about the song. And they thought it was interesting that song, a song that was lighthearted about murder, was taken so well when another one of their songs was considered wrong. But like I said, in the music video, the only reason I can figure that the video didn't get in trouble at all is because it shows the idea of this being performed as a play rather than an actual video styling. Okay, now on to some other fun. Now I'm going to do Miranda Lambert's Gunpowder and Lead. Miranda, I could have seen her being a Dixie Chicks fan. A Goodbye Earl fan. To be honest, because Gunpowder and Lead, Kerosene, there's a number of her songs where, yeah, I would be afraid to cross her just because of the songs alone. If any of those songs happen to be what she actually feels at moments. The song is often considered to be a mix of taunt and self-defense, with his fist is big, my gun's bigger. You'll find out when I pull the trigger. Also, the start of the song begins where the man's in jail getting ready to come home after making bail. And Miranda's character in the song is sitting in the chair facing the door. And she's got her gun in her hand. Well, the thing is, through all this, we hear about how abusive he is and everything. Well, at the end of the song, spoiler alert, we hear a gunfire. But we don't actually know if he gets hit or she just fired it in the air. But we all figure he'll get the message. Like I said, with Miranda Lambert, a number of her songs are interesting for that reason alone. But that one I remember being specifically dealing with the idea of abuse in a relationship is the reason why I chose it. The other one I could think of was Kerosene, and I remember that one being more about cheating in a relation, being about a cheater in a relationship rather than abuse. Now, for for a big song that I found, that I enjoyed since I was a kid. That again, when I was a kid, liked the song. As I got older, realized what it was about. Still enjoy it, and the video is done pretty well, actually. The song is "Independence Day" by Martina McBride from 1994. The song actually took 18 months to write, and was initially, when the writer did it, it was just the chorus of the song, because they had no idea what the song was actually going to be about. And there's also a rumor that initially it was offered to Reba to do the song, but she turned it down, and then it went to Martina. Which, if that's true, I think was a good idea, because Reba, with the way this song's done, Reba would have been the type to fight back in the song, and it needed the character. And I'm not saying this about Martina in that way, but with the way Reba is built, she'd be more the character you'd expect to fight back. But also with the way the video does, it's got a scene involving a match. Reba, instead of dropping the match, would have been the one to throw a match and cause a fire. And this song's actually written from an 8-year-old's perspective about how she goes to a fair in town. It even mentions this in the song. It's storytelling form. Mom and dad, the parents of this child, the father's known for his temper and abusing the mother. Well, mother apparently had enough, sends her child to the fair in town that day, which happens to be July 4th. Given the song, it's double meaning, because the mother's had enough and she's wanting her freedom. While at the same time, it happens to be Independence Day. But again, we're back to this. With McBride, with the character in the video, well, when the child's in town, father gets drunk, goes to sleep. Mom decides, okay, we're going to even things out. She ends up burning the house down with him in it. But at the time the house is burning down, the daughter's in town and nobody knows, because it's happening during the fair. So even though it happens, the only people who really know that it happened are the firemen. The daughter comes home to see the firemen and the police who are putting out the fire, and she's taken to the county home. It's actually, in the song, unsure of whether the mom died in the fire or not. But my take on it is, because of the way the video's done, mom went down with dad in this. And I think the line about "talk about your revolution" is perfect in this song because of how it's done. That's if I actually understand the line correctly. I may be misquoting. What's really sad is that this song is generally mistaken as being a patriotic song, and people such as Sarah Palin have been known to use this. as their walk-on song and things, and it's been played at 4th of July picnics, stuff like that. While I admit the song has the title of Independence Day, giving it that double meaning, and it takes place on 4th of July, it is not a patriotic song in that way. Okay, while this song was seen as promoting self-defense for women, it was also seen as the woman had to be willing to die in the process. Which is why, like I said, I think a lot of people agree with me that the mother dies in the video rather than, because also in the song it talks about how the daughter's taken to the county home. And for the longest time, she may still be doing it. I don't know. Martina McBride is actually, was a spokesperson for ending abuse of any type. The video is done in a black and white style, which to me actually gives the video more of an effect than a color version would have done. Although it may actually have a color version, and I'm wrong on that. But I remember it being in black and white, and it being a great song, it being a great video. Something I don't remember that my parents seem to, and if any of you out there can help with this, leave it in the comments section about this, because I would really like to know. My parents seem to remember that there was a movie made that was based on this song, but I couldn't find it anywhere on the International Movie Database or just on movies in general. But my mom remembered it being played for a short time. It was played like once, maybe twice, and there was a lot of backlash over it, and they went off. Man, they took it off the air that quickly. And my dad remembers it as being like a film that was on CMT briefly. Like I said, it was like once, twice. It got so much backlash that it got taken off. But it was like CMT during the 90s, and they took it off, but it was like when CMT went away briefly and then came back. When it went away for a brief little bit and then came back is when he remembers it, is how they remember it. So like I said, if you can actually find this, leave me a link to it so I can see it, because I would really like to see it if they actually did do this. And I know it's not The Burning Bed or the film from the 70s, even though The Burning Bed was the closest I could find to it. Like I said, my parents remember this as actually having a film or a made-for-TV type movie that went to it. And that was based off of this song. And my mom seems to think also that the song was actually used in the made-for-TV movie, which is the other reason I want to see it. But also, this actually does have a reflection on a real-life event. The conclusion of the song actually echoes, in part, the life of Francine Hughes, one of the first women not to be found guilty of killing their husband due to temporary insanity by way of battered women syndrome. And this happened in 1977. Her husband, Miss Hughes' husband, had reportedly raped and abused her. Hughes poured gasoline. Well, one day while Hughes' husband was asleep, Hughes took the gasoline, poured it around the bed while he slept, set it on fire, and then escaped the house with her children. The line in the song, Day of Reckoning, actually comes from this event, it turns out. I didn't know that, and I still find it really interesting. Okay, now for my next song, Love the Way You Lie, Eminem and Rihanna. I was going with the original. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's the Eminem version because I remember it being mostly Eminem speaking, and Rihanna just doing like the guest vocals on it. So I'm going with it's part one instead of part two, but I may be wrong. So feel free to correct me if I am. First of all, I wondered how people could listen to this and consider it a love song in the first place. Because I listened to the lyrics the first time I heard it, and I was like, how is this a love song? This is the most violent set of people I have met. I mean, these two were, oh, I love you, and then turned around and basically were willing to almost kill each other with the way they were at each other's throats. When you're going from those extremes, you don't need to be around each other, because that will hurt you. And also, when, according to three media sites, according to three of the media sites I went on, when Eminem did this song originally, he wrote it. They said they wanted to offer it to Rihanna to have her help on it, and Eminem said go ahead, that he was okay with that. The moment they offered it to Rihanna, she said yes. One, because she was an Eminem fan, and two, because of the Chris Brown abuse that she suffered. She felt it as being a personal thing. I said, and again, that was according to three different media sites I was on, so that may have just been a big rumor rather than an actual truth, as I couldn't find an actual Rihanna saying it type spot. However, back to the song. In it, Rihanna threatens to leave at one point. Eminem's character tells her, I'll tie you leave. You try to leave, I'll tie you to the bed and burn down the house. Which later on in the song, he actually does. And it kills them both because he stays with her. Now, with Rihanna, one of the things about this is the fact that the song says, Rihanna's character used the song Like the Way It Hurts, along with the chorus of Love the Way You Lie, which is why it still confused me on why people thought this was a love song. Because to me, this was the worst idea of a love song. It was openly about domestic abuse. Okay, now from 2006, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Face Down. When this song opens up, it's about a guy talking to a girl who is a perpetual abuse victim. And then later on in the song, talks to the guy who's actually doing the abuse. When he's talking to the girl, he's talking about how she needs to leave him and stop sticking around with the abuse and how she's better than that. Well, when he's talking to the guy, he's warning him that karma's going to come back and bite him eventually. And if he doesn't get himself in trouble, he's going to either end up in jail. He's going, well, like I said, he basically just uses karma as the idea that it's going to equal things out. And that she's going to one day just leave him because she's going to be so strong. And he's going to be so weak. And the video actually ends, spoiler alert, the video actually ends with the abuse victim ending the relationship. Okay, now the last song on my list is from 2002, and it's a song I really like. I did not know this. It was actually about abuse, but that's because it's me. And I'm actually a little confused on how I didn't know now that I look back at the lyrics. But anyways, it's Always by Saliva. Josie Scott, the lead singer, based the song on the dysfunctional relationship. On a dysfunctional relationship that was worsened by abuse. And also, part of it was based on relationship issues that his sister's friend had where the guy was abusive to her. To the sister's friend. According to the article I found, Josie Scott says that he took the events from her life and applied it to his when he was writing the song. If you're watching the video, the guy is haunted by the girl. Everywhere he looks, he's seeing the girl, and he's following and following and following. And I think there could be a good reason for this, actually, which is if you take the idea of abuse into account, it's karma coming back. It's the idea of justice coming back to get him now. Because he keeps seeing the victim that he made. And so now he has to deal with it. But in the song, he's trying to get to the girl, which is the problem. And when you're haunted by the girl, when you're haunted, it's worse than when you're doing well. Okay, now I'm going to do a final notes. Like I said, this one was different from my previous videos. I know this. But I am going to talk some about abuse now. Domestic and relationship-wise. Okay. A lot of abuse comes from either a person's self-esteem, where they feel they need to be in control and have a lot of power, which is why they try to make the other person feel so low and useless, in which they're wrong, flat out. They don't need to do that. And that person needs to be avoided for that reason, if they're doing that to them. Because abusing somebody isn't right in any way. But, yes. But yeah, it's about power, control. Essentially, like I said, it's about power and control. They feel like they have so little that they need it in order for them to feel better. And it raises their self-esteem in the process, which will create, unfortunately, that raise, which is going to make them want more power and control. So it becomes like an obsession and one of those circles where they want more and more, and it just keeps going back and forth like that. Round and round. And Don't let them lie to you. Men get abused by women. It's just men are less likely to speak. I mean, men have been less likely to speak of it because they see it as demoralizing. And no matter what, whether it's male or female that's being abused, it is not their fault. They are the victim. And nobody deserves to be treated badly. If you're a victim of abuse, call the police, seek help. Even if it means that you have to go to somebody else's house, to another family member's house, or somebody else that you know, or to a shelter. Also, if you're worried about the idea of stalking becoming an issue, call police, seek a restraining order, or some type of order of protection that does not allow these people to get around you. And if you suspect a friend or someone you care about is in an abusive relationship, talk to them. Try to convince them to leave, but don't preach to them. If you get preachy, if you get to be the preachy type, you're going to sound selfish and it's going to make them angry and they're not going to be willing to listen. You want to try and keep the conversation normal, comfortable level, like everyday friendship deal, and let them see through the discussion what you see. Like, why is this person bad for them? Why can they do better in life than what they're with, than being with the person they're with and taking this abuse? And don't, and like I said, don't get preachy with your friend and don't blame them. Because if they feel bad, they're more likely to stay in the relationship, which could end badly, and allow them to make their own decision. Like I said, you keep talking with them, and it may take multiple times before it changes, if it ever does. But talk to them. Try to get them in a thing. Offer solutions to them, and expect more conversations in the future in case or when something does go wrong. But offer solutions such as discussing people to talk to, such as a therapist, a counselor, a resident advisor if they're in school, or an anonymous phone type person, or even the National Domestic Abuse Violence Hotline. And I know that sounds like I'm plugging them, but it's because of what I'm talking about. It's the reason why. I'm not actually trying to advertise for them. But like I said, and expect more conversations in the future. Don't expect them to admit they were wrong or anything like that. Because come on, how many of you find out you're wrong and you're going to be willing to admit that so easily? And don't be afraid to take action if you think someone is at serious risk for injury or sexual harm. Because if you think they are, there's a good chance you might be right, and it's better to err on the side of safety than see some damage come to that person down the line. But as for my video, that is all. Leave me a comment on what you'd like for me to do my next video on, and also leave me your like I said with this one's pretty specific, but leave me something you'd like for me to do my next video on. And I'll at least take it into consideration. If I can't do it, if I can do it, I'll consider it at least and get to it. And I will give you credit if it is your idea I actually choose to go with, because I do not believe in stealing ideas like that. But again, until the next video, but I'm sorry, I froze up again, got mixed up. Like I said, leave me a comment on what you think I should do my next video on, and also like, dislike, leave me a like or dislike, and subscribe if you liked what you see. Until the next video, have fun.